Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third episode of Getting Started with Certifications Live Learning. If you are new here, I'm Jimmy. Welcome to the channel. If you've been here multiple times before, thank you for coming back. With that, let's just get started and dive into what we have for today. So, right off the bat, this is episode 3. This is an episodic set of live learnings in that we are looking at something different every single month. So if you missed the first two, there are multiple ways you can get to those. The past event pages have them listed as a video there. You can go to my channel. There is a playlist on the main page that is tracking these as they come out, as well as the lives tab always has them there. So if you want to go back and watch it, either because you missed it or you need a recap on something, there are multiple ways for you to get to those. Today, we are going to be talking about the ACP-120, the Jira Administration for Cloud certification. I specifically chose this over the ACP-100 for data center just because I am not as comfortable with talking about data center. The last time I touched data center was a proof of concept back in 2019. And I think a lot has changed in data center that I know anything that crosses the two, but as far as the things that are data center specific, I feel less comfortable about talking about those ones specifically. So there are a lot of things that will be covered on this that also map to the ACP-100. The main things that you'd want to worry about for the 100 that I won't be covering here are things that are data center specific. And by that, I'm thinking of things like the fact that there is the shared administration for administering projects setting, which is exclusive to data center until that happens in cloud priority schemes, which are exclusive. But we're not going to be worrying about those. We're going to cover those at a later time. For anyone who's been here before, I'm going to just quickly cover some things that will be a bit of a recap from last time. So what you'll want to know is a little bit about me. I do work for an Atlassian customer in the cybersecurity space. I'm not actually an Atlassian employee. I don't work for a partner, never have. I've been an admin for over 10 years. I have covered the gambit of things. I originally started on Jira server, bought a Bitbucket server and a Bamboo server. That was the environment I worked with, migrated that to the cloud. And then I moved companies from a small startup to a larger enterprise customer, where I'm currently managing Jira software, service management, and Confluence Cloud Premium. I am an Atlassian Certified Expert, as much as that standing still holds anything anymore, where I have over 8 active certifications. I am constantly looking at the university on a regular basis just to make sure that I keep myself current on everything that Atlassian has. And lastly, I am a community leader. I'm primarily in the online space, so you'll find me in the Welcome Center with the monthly community roundups, as well as helping out by welcoming new members on Wednesdays. And I do help out with the Kitchener-Waterloo local chapter here in Ontario, Canada. That's a little bit about me. As far as housekeeping for this episode, to the community leaders and the other creators that are in here, helping me out with things, thank you for being in chat. I appreciate all of your efforts to help with things today. I will be prioritizing questions that come in on the ACP-120 first. I want to make sure that if anyone comes back, those are the questions we answer ahead of any others. If there are other questions not related to that, feel free to ask them. We will try and answer them if we have time. If not, there is definitely locations that I can push you towards to get answers to those as quickly as possible. One of those areas being the training and certification collection in the online community. All right, with that, let's switch on over. We're going to talk a little bit about how to prepare for this. So the first thing I'm going to bring up is the fact that if you are not familiar with the university site, you're going to go to university.atlassian.com. It's going to give you a page that looks very much like this with a login button. If you have never logged in, you're going to click on that button and it's going to ask you for your Atlassian ID. If you have one because you're logged into the community, you're going to use the same ID that you would use for the community. Otherwise, you can create a new account. And if you haven't created an account, that's a good idea because you'll probably want to also set up a free cloud site so that you can do some experimentation in the cloud products while you're preparing for the exam. The one thing I will note is if this is the first time that you are logging into the Atlassian system, the ACP-120 is probably not where you want to be starting. I think that will be a little bit advanced for you. You'll probably want to have about a year's worth of experience as an admin under your belt before you're taking this exam. There are plenty of other courses, both free and paid, as well as other power user certifications. Hey, John, welcome. Thank you for coming in, as well as other certifications that would be much more beginner focused than starting with the ACP-120. With that, we will switch on over to the other view I have here. So once we have actually got started here, I would recommend starting with the topics. And normally we go to certifications. This is the professional certification, which, as I've mentioned, are for your more seasoned veterans who have been using the products for a number of years and are looking to sort of prove that they know that they have the knowledge. Your associate certifications are sort of those power users who you take a course and then you take an exam and, you prove that you have learned the content that was provided to you in that course. So clicking on professional certifications will take us to the pages that we can organize to get to them. The ACP-120 is the one that we're going to look at. But the other thing I wanted to point out first, because it can really help you in preparing for this, is going to the learning paths. So since the ACP-120 is the Jira administration for cloud, there is a Jira administrator learning path. And this tells you a bit more about the things that the Atlassian University has available for you to learn about how to become an administrator. So as it points out, if you're brand new to Jira, you should start here instead of going straight in at the admin cert. So there are 2 paid courses. I believe they are $39 US each. Jira Administration Part 1 and 2, as well as getting more for workflows. Those are the 3 things that you can, paid courses that you can purchase. I would recommend choosing the one that makes sense for you versus cloud or data center based on which exam you're going for. And then ongoing learning. This, I believe, is a free course. And then there is the exam success courses. And we will dive into that in a little bit. They are free, and they will help you in preparing for taking either of those exams. And then obviously, there is the certification itself. So, if we go to the actual exam page itself, there are a few pieces of information that I always like pointing out on here, because they can definitely help you in knowing how to get yourself ready. So the first thing I always point people up is immediately come down and take a look at the exam topics. Now, this one doesn't have as extensive of a guide as some of the other ones, and hopefully that is something that will be corrected by the Atlassian team, because I do like the newer ones that have the very sort of comprehensive guide of breaking down exactly what's going to be covered. But this gives you an idea that if you look at this, the majority of the exam is going to be on access, permissions, and security at 25 to 30% of the exam. So if you don't feel as though you are as competent at doing access and permissions, maybe competent's too strong of a word. If this is something that you feel like you struggle with a bit, this is something you definitely want to work on because it's going to be the majority of the exam. The other things that are going to take up a fair bit of it is just general project configuration and issue types, fields, and screens, as well as workflows and automation. And if you think about it this way, A number of those things are also covered in the ACP 620. So if you were here last month, that is a good way to get started learning some of the things. And then you can use this as a refresher on some of those things so that you don't have to completely start from scratch in all of your studying. The ones that will not have been covered on the 620, obviously, will be things like the system administration, which comes in at sort of 5 to 10%. So not as much there. Definitely much more on the permission and security standpoint. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for joining. All right. So things that you want to do in order to get prepared. As this is pointing out, going down that learning path is definitely one of the best ways to get started. If you have not taken any of the admin courses, I would consider it $39 US. And I would say start with administration part 1 and see if you relatively already know a number of the things that are being talked about there. If you do, maybe just focus more on sort of the product documentation to help get you prepared. So right down at the bottom here, there is the free training catalog where you can find some of the other Jira courses that might help you. But then also the documentation can definitely give you a hand there. Briefly, we will just talk about the fact that can you provide us with the direct URL to bookmark? Which URL are you wanting to bookmark? The one to this certification page? I can absolutely dump that into the chat. And you know what? Just for fun, why don't I also put the one to the learning path as well? There you go. You have both of those. So let's take a couple of minutes and we will just talk about this exam success course. So what it's going to cover is basically everything that's going to be covered on the exam. It's going to do it at a very high level. So this is not something you would use to learn about these things, but this would definitely be something that after you have learned about all of these things, you would come in here as a refresher. So I'm just going to point out, we'll just pick the system administration just because I like to pick on this one. And what this is going to do is this is going to give you sort of an overview of some of the things that you'll want. And yes, there are sample questions interlaced all throughout this whole thing. So for those of you who have always been begging for sample questions, this is definitely, it's a free course and it has a bunch of those sorts of things that you will want to take advantage of. It's going to ask you the questions. You can provide your answer when you submit the answer. It's going to give you the whether you were right or not. And then it's also going to explain all of the answers as to why they're wrong. And that is, in my opinion, the most helpful piece of information that you will get from this, because knowing the what was incorrect can help you learn why the answer you provided wasn't right if you got it wrong. And I have also found that reading some of the incorrect answers has helped me prepare for other questions in the future. So why don't we just quickly do this one? So you want to ensure that whenever users create new filters and dashboards, they're visible to everyone in the Jira instance by default. Which configuration achieves this? Now, let's make sure that I actually know the right answer on this one. So we can create a new filter and a new dashboard and share each of them with my organization. We can ensure that the default dashboard shows all new filters in the filter results gadget. We can modify the user default settings and change the default sharing for filters and dashboards to public. We can grant the share dashboards and filters global permission to the appropriate group, or we can grant the manage group filter subscriptions global permission to the appropriate group. All right, I'm going to put this out to everyone. What do you think the answer is? A, B, C, D, or E? Put them in the chat. And then by consensus, that's what we'll vote on. Got D, we've got C, 2 C's. Anyone else? C, okay. Looks like we're going to select C. We got a bunch of C's. Okay, let's submit C. And yes, C is the correct answer. And if we come down here, we can see that A is incorrect because creating a new filter and or a new dashboard and sharing it with my organization will only affect that one particular filter and dashboard. It will not ensure that all newly created ones are visible. Going to the correct answer, we can see that modifying the user default settings and changing the default setting of sharing for filters and dashboards to public will ensure that all newly created ones are visible to all logged in users in the Jira instance by default. So this would be my point, is that yes, we got the correct answer. At the same time, we can see why each one of the incorrect answers is wrong. And I think that that is just as beneficial into helping you prepare so that you know that, let's say you were thinking about D here, that the share dashboards and filters global permission might be appropriate. Well, the reason that was incorrect is that granting that global permission to the group allows users in that group to be able to share the filter and dashboard, but it doesn't actually affect who it's shared to by default. And that would be why that one was incorrect, is that it enables people to share them, but doesn't actually make it the default setting. So those are sort of this whole course. Again, it's free. It is 100% worth doing. You will be able to go through this whole thing. As you go along, it's going to give you an overview of some of the features. And then after you've done a little bit of investigation and reading through these, it's going to throw a whole bunch of sample questions in the mix for you to go through and make sure that you are prepared for writing that exam. So I guess now is a good point to sort of ask, does anyone have questions that they want answered about the ACP-120 itself? And if you don't have any questions about this exam in particular, I am happy to take any questions about any of the other exams, any of the previous classes or courses that we've done here, or even just any other questions in general. What is the timing and the number of questions? Okay, let's start there. So timing and number of questions. We're going to go back here. So if you look at the exam details, it's going to tell you that you have 3 hours to write the exam. There are up to 75 questions, which means you might have 75 or you might have slightly fewer than that. From my experience in these, most of the time it is 75. If it says that, or there's the odd occasion that you'll see a couple less. And usually when there's a couple less, it's because cloud features have changed and something that was set as an exam question is no longer accurate. So they just remove it from the list of questions that will be populated for it. 3 hours, in my opinion, has more than enough time to write the exam. Any of the ones that I have done, I haven't used more than about an hour and a half. And that is answering all the questions and then going back and reviewing all the questions that I wanted to review before submitting the exam. Do you feel there is enough time? Sorry, Fred, I guess I just answered that question at the same time. Yes, I think 3 hours is more than enough time to actually write the exam itself. I have done this one in particular, I did as an online one, but I have also done them at the testing centers, and I would say testing centers are a bit more reliable in being able to do them faster. In your experience, how many of the questions are applying knowledge to scenarios versus defining terms? Ooh, that is a good question. I'd say you're going to find probably more of them lean towards the scenarios versus defining terms. I think they try and mix the two together where they will have you with a scenario that may be defining some terms, and you need to know the I think it's a bit of column A, column B, but I think there are probably more applying knowledge to scenarios than defining terms on the exams. What would be the validity of certification? I'm not sure that I understand that question exactly, AJ. If you want to elaborate on that, I'm going to try and answer it. I mean, the certifications are exactly what they are, right? It's Atlassian, sort of. And would renewal be equivalent to taking a new certification once again? So I'll say this much. The certifications are Atlassian acknowledging that you have understood the way in which they want the product to be used, and that you have proved that you have, shown the ability to take the product knowledge they have provided in the courses, the product documentation, and everything else, and then apply it to sort of scenarios and definitions within the exam, and that, you have met their level of requirements to say that you are an expert in this area. And would renewal be equivalent for taking a new one certification once again? So I'm going to say there's a massive asterisk here. There's a lot in flux right now with Atlassian changing the way in which the certified expert standing is working, as well as having retired a number of the pro skill badges, well, all the pro skill badges and a few of the certifications as of the beginning of February. Being an Atlassian customer, I don't have any additional insight information at this time to be able to tell you what's going on there. What I do know is that if you are able to renew an exam ahead of its expiry date, it treats it as though you have taken the exam, retaken the exam. So the way it would work in the past is you could use certain pro skill badges to renew a certification. Pro skill badges usually cost somewhere in the neighborhood of, $30 US to take, instead of the $250 for the certification. So from that standpoint, yes, it's definitely one of those setups where you are getting the certification for another 2 years without having to spend the full price on it. Just going back, is there any discount for the retake? From my understanding, no. They reshuffled the price to make it a little bit cheaper for your initial take of the exam, so that that's just the flat cost. It's one of those things where whatever it costs to take the exam, that's what it costs for the retake as well. The one thing I would say is if you are an early adopter on some of the exams, so the ACP-120, I don't know if it's still discounted, but when it first came out, I want to say July of last year, the price for taking that certification exam was $100 US versus the $250 that those normally are. And that extended for quite some time. So if you get in early, that's one way you can get the exams discounted a bit. Are we still allowed to take the certification? So yes, the ACP-120 is still a valid certification that can be taken. Will it work towards the Atlassian Certified Expert standing? Right now, no. I don't know exactly what their plans are, as I mentioned, for what the Certified Expert standing is going to be, but you can take the exams. My partner in crime at work just took the ACP 620 yesterday. Trying to do the math. Friday, sorry, not yesterday, Friday. And he passed it, so he has the ACP 620. I imagine whenever they get around to figuring out what the new certified expert standing replacement is going to be, any of the certifications you have earned in between there will be applied to however they plan on doing that. Got it. Thanks, Jimmy. Sorry, as I wasn't. Hey, I appreciate the clarity. Are the costs for renewal the same as getting it in the first place? MP, I'm going to say that depends. And the reason I say that depends is you will find on the certification page, and give me a second here. I'm just going to move over to that there for a second. I'm going to bring up the page that I can show you. Just bear with me here for a second. We're going to go and take a look at the certification portal, and then I can show you exactly what you're wanting to look at. So let's bring this back over there. Okay, so this is my own certification listing, and you will see that there is active certification for, let's bring it down here to some of the more active ones. So the ACP-120. Let's find that one here. Right here, the ACP-120. So it is currently active. Last extension I had was there. It will suspend May 15th of 2025. If I manage to take a whatever the replacement's going to be for pro skill badges to renew it, which was a like $30 renewal, that will allow me to extend it, much like that's what happened here. And in order to do that one, I took the pro skill badge on housekeeping and governance, which extended this certification. That was a $30 cost for me to write that, and that extended this for another 2 years, which is a cheaper cost than if I had spent the additional $250 to, in essence, extend the exam. So I would say the cost of renewal depends upon how you renew your exam, how you renew your certifications. If you are able to renew it with another credential, such as the pro skill badges, which I will say aren't available right now, but at the same time, I also understand that Atlassian has paused all certifications. So if you were going to have one expire before they've had a chance to revamp everything, you're going to have some grace period right now where it's not going to expire until that happens. So up until now, you won't have to worry about having to renew it yet. If you can get in there with whatever their pro skill badge equivalent is, as of July 2nd, I think is when they're announcing the new program. That would be my recommended path forward, is get that before it expires, and then you don't have to pay the full price to get the exam. Thank you very much. I didn't know the badge. So again, the badges are not an option right now. They have retired all of that, and they're coming up with a new system that will launch in July. I am hoping that we will have the ability to get some information about it for what would be the June 10th version of this live learning session, so that I can have members of the Atlassian training and certification team either on this session with me, or they will give me the information ahead of time so that that session can all be about what they're planning on releasing in July. Right now, it's all to be determined, and I'm just as much in the dark about what their plans are as you are. All right. Are you going to be at Team 24 in Vegas, and is this stuff talked about there? So, Fred, great question. A, yes, I will be at Team 24. B, the training and certification team will definitely be partnered with the community booth. Where will this be talked about? I mean, yes, if you come and find me in the community or certification booth, I am 100% available to answer any questions in person. I know that, and I'm going to put her on the spot even if she's not here, Joanna Thurman, who is part of the training develop or the certification development team, will be there. So she is 100% the right person to ask about any questions you have, as she's directly involved with the certifications. So yes, there will be people there. Yes, there will be plenty talked about if you know who to talk to. If you find me, I can definitely point you in the direction of the people that you'll want to talk to at Atlassian who work on the certifications. Are you doing sessions every month? or any other dates, please let me know. So yes, I am doing this once a month. I believe it's approximately the second Monday of every month, and I do it at 12 noon Eastern Standard Daylight Savings Time, whatever you want to call it, the Eastern time zone in North America. I have chosen that one just because it has the widest cross section of people while still allowing me to manage my kids in the evening. If you aren't able to make it, there is always it's being recorded as a live on my channel, which I also then attach to the event page, so you can always go back and look at the past events. Thank you. Is there any calendar subscription or how to get notified? So there are two ways in which you can get notified. Number one is very self-serving. You can always subscribe to my channel, and there will be notifications about the various lives as they go public. The other option, let me just get you the live learning channel here. So, what do I want? I want it around here somewhere. There is a chapter here. Let me see if this will give us the right spot. Bear with me a second. I'm going to get you the link to not just mine specifically, but the live learning chapter. That is going to be the how you get notified about any of the new live learning sessions that come up. So there's the chapter. We just bring it over here, and then I will also put that chapter into the chat there. That's the one you're going to want. And if we bring that up here, perfect. All right, so the live learning chapter, let me just close that down. This is where all of the people who are doing things, so you have my getting started with certifications, but there are also a number of the other creators who are doing getting started with Confluence, Jira as an admin, Jira service management. You will also see that there are live sections on some other things. Episode 4 is live. So I would come and join this live learning chapter. Then whenever one of these events goes live, you will get a notification to your inbox that a new event is live for you to go and RSVP to. When you have RSVP'd to one of these events, you will get email notifications that the events are happening, so that you can go and join them. That's probably the best way to get it. And then from there, if you look at the past events, just as an example, clicking on the one we did last month, you'll get a link right to the live session that we did there. So when this one is over, I will add that link into the one for this page. So that is an easy way you can always go back and look at the things after they've happened. Sorry, that was a roundabout answer to get to how to get notified about these things. Does anyone have any other burning questions they want to ask? I'm happy to answer them all. Yes, you're welcome. Actually, I guess on the topic of Team 24, if you haven't already, there is, so let's see, it's technically, it starts Tuesday evening, I think it is, where the opening keynote happens at about 5 p.m. But earlier in the day on the Tuesday, they are doing university training courses and certifications on site at Team 24. And I'm pretty sure those certifications are only $50. So if you were looking for discounts on certifications, I know you're having to pay more to actually go to Team 24, but there's a ton of good reasons to go to Team 24 beyond just getting a discount on the certification. But if you are able to, that is the best time to take a certification if you don't have one. because you can take advantage of it being a significantly discounted price, and you're already going to be at, if you're already going to be at Team 24, you know, $50 extra just to earn a certification to start the event is not a bad way to go. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a couple more minutes for questions. If you don't have anything, I think we can wrap things up. And thank you very much for everyone for coming out today. I really appreciate that. I hope you've learned something helpful here that will help you be prepared for running the exam. Oh, John, will you be buying dinner for everyone at Team 24 who passes the ACP-120 between? No, I will not buy dinner. However, I will happily meet you and give you a hearty congratulations and a handshake. How about that? Great question, John. Thank you for throwing that one out there. How much do the ongoing courses help with exam preparation versus the recommended courses? That is a great question, Tara. I will say this much. If you are a admin by trade and job, and you are regularly in the tool on a daily basis, having to provide new workflow configurations, updating workflows, new access to projects, building new projects, and that is your job day in, day out, I would say you're probably just going to want the exam success course as a refresher on things. You may have to jump out to the product documentation for things that you might not use on a regular basis. I know personally, I don't touch issue collectors. That's just not something any of my companies have ever used. So I always forget the things about them. But I would say for the most part, if you are in there every day, the courses are great at teaching you things that you don't know. But if it's part of your job, you probably know a lot of those things. Does Atlassian or any other platform provide mock-up tests to be prepped for? Oh, let me try that again. Does Atlassian or any other platform provide mock-up tests to be prepped up before we take the actual one? Atlassian does not. The best that they will offer is that exam success course that we just looked at earlier on, which has a smattering of sample questions throughout it. Those sample questions, while they aren't exactly what's going to be on the exam that you're going to take, the exact same format is there. So that gives you a really good idea of what how the questions are going to be presented to you. And I know that Joanna hates using the term how they're going to trick you, but how they're going to trick you into thinking, it's one of those things where you go in, you're like, oh, this is the right answer. And then they're like, no, it's not. You're like, well, but it could be. And that's where they say, well, yeah, it could be the right answer, but we want definitively the right answer. Also, will there be any webhook related questions, like advanced questions in automations? I am going to say that I don't know 100%. What I would recommend doing is checking out the certification success course, as that I think is going to be your best what's going to be on the exam. So if we go to, and you know what, let's 2 seconds, let's take a look. So under workflows and automations, if we take a quick look at what they have here, what are we going to look at? On overview of automations, configuring company managed workflows, configuring team managed workflows, and configuring automation rules. Let's just take a quick look at automation rules. I'm willing to bet that they're probably pretty basic ones. Configurations, examples of what triggers include, examples of conditions, if-else blocks. I don't see anything specifically on webhooks, but I would say go through the course to be sure. It's been a bit since I've taken that. Tara says, my role is consulting with clients. Many of who are Jira administrators. You're not a Jira expert yet, but want to talk the talk. Hey, you know what, Tara? I appreciate that you're wanting to get there. I think the courses probably are a good bet for you. As far as getting to be able to, as you put it, talk the talk. Yes, I think you're on the right path there. Okay, this session has about 5 minutes left, so if you have any more questions, now's the time to ask them. I'm happy to answer them. And I will actually say this much. So to the statement that John had made, I will offer up that if you are at Team 24 and you have passed any certification, does not have to be the ACP-120. If you have passed any certification, come find me. I will absolutely give you a high five and a hearty congratulations for being able to pass any certification. These are definitely not, they're a rite of passage as far as the fact that you have proved that you have some experience and then you have shown that you know that knowledge. So they're definitely an undertaking, and I applaud anyone who not only just attempts to take them, but is actually able to successfully complete them. So yes, come find me at Team 24. Okay, we'll just wait a couple more seconds, see if anyone has any last minute questions. While I'm waiting, I will just change the banner. So what we have up next month will be the ACP-120. So you had the 620, which is Jira software projects, managing, I know it's managing Jira projects, I think, in cloud. That's all about software projects. We talked about the Jira administration today. I'd say the third point in that triangle is the ACP-120, which is all about Jira service management projects. So that's what we will cover next time. And if I go back to the presentation, I'm going to just try and go backwards a bit. We are going to be doing that one on April 8th. So that will be a Monday. It'll be at the same time. So if you are interested in the ACP-120, you'll definitely want to come in and check that out. With that, thank you all for being here. I highly recommend you join the live learning chapter. I will put those links into the chat one more time, just as I'm ending things off here. If your question didn't get answered or you thought of something afterwards, feel free to go to the online community and look for the training and certification collection. I am usually in there. There's plenty of other very seasoned experts that are more than happy to answer your questions. With that, thank you for joining today, and I will see you next month.